Now, this is quite a niche situation, but when you're working with indoor lighting, there's a good chance that you're running into very noisy renders. And especially when using HDRI lighting, the inside of rooms can get very, very noisy. So over here in Blender, I have a very simple box shape with a very tiny window. There it is, which is lighting up this room. I'm actually just going to make the window just a little bit bigger so the room is a little bit brighter. And we have an HDRI. So if I go into render view here, we have an HDRI with quite a high strength lighting everything up. And as you can see, the render on the right side here is really, really noisy. We can use area lights to sort of fix this. Well, not necessarily fix it, but make it a little bit better using a function called portals. So I'm going to add in an area light in this shot here, and we're actually just going to move this guy all the way to the outside here, and we're going to point it inwards. So I'm just going to rotate it -90 on the X there, and we're going to make sure that this sort of aligns with the window there. So pretty close like this, scale it up a little bit as well. Make sure we move it in front of our window there. I'm just actually going to move this a little bit closer, something like that. And there we go. Now we have an area light sort of covering this window space. And if I were to crank up the light here, immediately it would light up the room, right? But we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to check this thing called portal. So let me just turn off the strength entirely and notice what happens once I press portal. There we go. It might be hard to see due to compression and the fact that it's still quite a noisy render. But if we look at this from a general perspective, and especially how fast this is rendering, the portal is actually making a difference. So the portal makes this render just a little bit faster, because what the portal does is that it tells Blender that all of the light outside of this room does not need to be calculated, and instead it needs to focus on all of the light passing through this portal here, the portal that we made using this area light. So by using the portal, Blender needs to calculate less light rays coming in, or basically covering the outside of our room, and instead it just focuses all of its computing power on the inside of the room, which can help clear up a little bit of noise. Now for comparison, here's a render of the inside of this room with the portal, and here's the same one without the portal. Now, not only do the renders look very similar, but the best thing is that compared to not using the portal, we've actually managed to save more than 5 minutes of render time for exactly the same render. So with the portal it was about 40 seconds, and without the portal it's 5 minutes and 47 seconds for the same single render, and that's just one frame. So imagine the time you can save if you're doing this on an animation. Now I need to point out that this does not always work. It doesn't work with every HDRI, and in some scenarios the gains aren't as good as shown in this example. However, it's so easy for you to test out if this method works for speeding up your renders and cleaning up the noise in your renders. So why not go ahead and try it on any scene where you're using HDRI or sky texture lighting for indoor shots, and maybe start saving a ton of time using this method.